Welcome to the Scratch Golfer's Mindset Podcast, the show committed to helping you dismantle the destructive mindset programs keeping you stuck in the proverbial bunker of poor performance so you can get out of your own way and play to your potential. My name is Paul Salter. I'm a high-performance hypnotherapist and mindset coach with 16 years of experience helping thousands of individuals like you get unstuck. This podcast features a collection of solo episodes, conversations with scratch and plus handicap golfers, and master classes with top experts in the performance psychology space. The one goal? To help you make playing to your potential a habit. If you want to get golf strong, hit more bombs off the tee box, and finally conquer chronic low back pain, this is the episode for you. Welcome back to another episode of the Scratch Golfer's Mindset. I'm your host, Paul Salter, the golf hypnotherapist, and today's guest is good friend Shaun Diachkoff, who is an absolute wizard and expert in all things human performance, exercise, and muscle physiology, and does a brilliant job filtering his wealth of knowledge through the lens of getting you to perform better on the course, getting your body to move fluidly, strongly through the range of motion you need to hit the ball as far as you possibly can. And if you're anything like me, someone who, to be candid and toot my own horn, in the weight room, I'm strong. I have a competitive bodybuilding and a competitive powerlifting background. I've squatted close to, I think I squatted 435 in competition. I've pulled 485. I've benched 285 at 160 pounds. But when I first got back into golf roughly a year ago, I felt as if none of that strength was transferring to my golf swing. I was struggling to get the ball 225 yards with my driver. And as I began to let go of my ego, started including more mobility, more flexibility, more rotational power type of exercises in my workout regimen, I started to see it pay off. And I'm not quite sure as I record this intro when exactly this episode will come out, but I've gotten to know Shaun personally, spending time with him in Orlando during the PGA show earlier this year, and am thoroughly impressed with his knowledge. I'm making the decision to work with him so I can continue to maximize my golf-specific strength and hit the ball a hell of a lot further. I have the utmost trust in Shaun, highly recommend him, and am so excited to introduce you to him on today's episode. So without further ado, buckle up, get your note-taking device and approach ready, and enjoy this conversation. Shaun, it's so good to see you again, my friend. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Great to see you as well, mate. It's only been, a few weeks, so not too long.
Yeah, and we'll give a shout out, give credit where it's due. Michael Leonard, wicked smart, making the connection at the PGA Tour. Michael, we appreciate you because, we had a lot of great fun together in Orlando. Now we're here to talk much more than we did there, expand upon your wisdom and expertise, and I'm grateful that you're here.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it, and I look forward to reciprocating and obviously having you as a guest on my show in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive in. I'm going to take you down a journey you might not even have foreseen us going down. I want to talk about briefly your time in the Australian military. And I would love to know, because you are a man with many hats on your head at all times. You are husband, your father, your coach, your golfer, your entrepreneur, and everything in between that I'm forgetting or leaving out. But what I would love to hear from you, because the context here, and some of the listeners know this, I have a fascination with the military. I did junior ROTC for many years in high school. I've always tried to find as much of a civilian-esque recreation of military-themed training throughout my entrepreneurial endeavors. What is one skill that you attribute to your time in the military that has helped you with the success you've experienced, A, in entrepreneurship, and then B, in golf?
Yeah, that's a banger of a question to start with, man. I love it. Yeah, you put me on the spot here, but I would say like a lot of people have probably seen that video of like making your bed. right? Like, have you seen that one? The guy does, I think he's a Marine, does a speech, and he's like, get up every morning and make your bed. I think discipline, structure, and routine are like probably three of the biggest key parts that I've learned from the military that apply to business, to golf, like to so many aspects of our just general day-to-day lives, in that if we have a few simple habits, it's much easier to stick to a few simple habits daily than be thinking about the long-term picture with things, because it can always seem, with any endeavor that we go into, whether it's business and starting something from $0 and turning it into a $1 million company or whatever it might be, or going on a 50-pound weight loss journey, it always seems really insurmountable when you just look from the start to the end. Whereas if you actually just look at the pieces that need to happen and you have the discipline and etc., like I've said just before, in order to do those things daily and the routine, it becomes much simpler, because you're just ticking boxes every single day, and that builds momentum in a good way. And then obviously, those tasks start to become what first seemed impossible now becomes inevitable, because you're obviously progressing towards it.
Oh, I love that line. I will put it out there now. I'll probably steal that line. What was once impossible becomes inevitable. That's awesome. And it's really interesting you say that, because when at least this is my perspective, and we're going to get yours, of course, when I think about some of the big goals I have and the goals I help my clients achieve, there is at least a momentary period where it's nothing but pure excitement. We're lost in la la land, daydreaming. Like, I can't wait till I achieve this, become that. But the truth is that's temporary, because on the other side of that is a whole fuck ton of fear, because it's an identity change. We talk about making millions or losing tens of pounds of weight. That requires you to become a new identity. And what I love so much about what you just shared is those small daily victories begin to plant the seed for a ripple effect into not only transforming your habits, but your beliefs, the way you talk about yourself, all of which encompasses your identity.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's just like little votes of confidence in yourself, and like little bits of like undeniable proof along the way that you can do this, and you can just keep chipping away at it and doing that thing in order to make progress towards the end goal. So I love that. And it's so applicable in fitness. It's so applicable in golf, because I literally was interviewing a guest on my podcast earlier today, and he's an ex-tour pro. He made his debut at 40 years old as a PGA Tour player.
Gary Christian, right?
Yes. Mike introduced me to him, so I'm sure you'll probably interview him at some point. Great guest.
I just had him on. It's so funny.
Oh, wow. So one thing that he was saying, and sorry if this spoils anything for your episode, I don't think it will, but he was just saying it's all just like little bits of proof to yourself that you can do a thing. Like when the going gets tough or when things are hard, the little things that you're doing daily, or the little routine or bits of discipline that you have, are just proving to yourself that you can make it happen or you can do it. In the fitness sense, it's obviously, saying no to shitty foods or whatever it might be. And in the golf sense, it's like, even if you are 5 over par after 5 holes and your handicap is 5 and you've got 13 holes to play with essentially 0 shots in your bank, it's like, can you go around the course and make 2 birdies and 2 bogeys from there on out, and prove to yourself that you can hold it together. Little things like that. So that's what all of this sort of says to me, and how it's applicable in both realms.
Yeah, very well said. And building off of that example, I found myself in a round just a week ago. I mean, we're recording this probably weeks before it comes out live, in which, at a couple holes where I'm putting for bogey and not where I want to be. Yet, rather than just kind of dismissing it, half-assing my pre-shot putting routine, I had a tough conversation with myself. Hey, every shot matters. It's an opportunity to practice, especially, and you get this, being a new father, the time out there is limited. I want to maximize the most of it. And I sunk a few 20 to 30 foot putts and surprised myself. And okay, what could have potentially been a double or triple, hey, a bogey isn't too bad after all is said and done. But you're right. It's those little moments there. We create little victories. We build momentum. And I think what I loved most about what you said, undeniable proof. I love that. And I'm curious, when you think about building undeniable proof and you think about surrounding yourself with the behaviors to start building that, is there such thing as too small of a behavior or an action to take?
That's a good question. I don't think there really is. Like, little things like another one of my, like to throw more quotes out there, another one of my favorites is small hinges shift large doors, in that it only takes like small little habit changes or small little changes in mindset or actions in order to see huge changes. You just have to look at how far open a golf club face actually needs to be in order for you to hit it 30 yards right. It only needs to be a fraction, like a very small degree. So if it depends how much length of time or how much length of the goal it is. Like, a small change in it can change your trajectory a lot. Like, if you're off 2 degrees in a plane when you're trying to fly somewhere and you're going from Australia to LA, you're probably going to end up in Mexico. Like, you're going to end up a lot further south than what you wanted to, just from being 2 degrees off. Any pilots out there, don't correct my maths. That was a bit of an exaggeration, but you sort of get the point, right? Like, even just like dialing in a tiny bit is going to get you closer and closer to that target each and every time you dial it in just a fraction. And sure, there'll be a tipping point or like a straw that breaks the camel's back where it's like, okay, that's it. I've done it. I think just having there's no too small. It's a matter of trying so many, because like so many will actually be a tiny little bit, and then you'll find one that clicks or one that just gets you over the edge, I find.
Yeah, I like that. Now, I'm curious, and this is something I've studied and remain fascinated with to this day. Tell me about, how do you start your day? What are the habits and structure and discipline look like in your life? Knowing, again, you're a father, a husband, an entrepreneur who's involved in so many things. Walk us through the first 30 to 60 minutes of your day.
Yeah, that's changed a lot since I've become a dad. I would love it to be like really structured and regimented and not have to worry about my son, waking up early, which he has for the last 2 days, thanks to daylight savings. But in an ideal world, what I would do is some things that are like really important to me to kick the day off. So I just bought myself a new coffee kit, which, first thing I ever do in the morning is cold shower and coffee, like the first things that have to get done. And then I try and minimize or avoid completely any time on my phone until I do a couple of things for me. So the first things that I like to do is I preach to my clients to follow daily mobility routines. So doing like, 2, 3, 4 key exercises to work on areas in which they need to improve the most, like the lowest hanging fruit for them that's going to see the most improvement in their golf game or just mobility for their swing. And then once I've done that, is like reading 10 pages of a book or doing something like that, like something personal development or working on me a little bit. Focus on yourself, because once you, to bring another saying into it, win the morning, win the day. I'm a very big believer in that. Like, do a couple of things for you which give you small little wins, they're little votes of confidence like we're talking about. And then it just gives you so much energy and momentum into the day and you feel better about it, that you don't have to like, I missed, doing this thing for myself, or I missed my daily mobility because I had to, all these other things came up. Now, don't think that I get that done every single day. I'm a human and everyone else is human. If I can get that done 70 to 80% of the time, I'm stoked. Like, 10 days out of 14, if I can get that done, even on weekends, like I'm really happy. Because the other few days are going to be, I sleep a little later. I don't get up at, 5 or 5:15 like I normally do. I want to sleep a bit later. Maybe my wife and I went out for dinner or, did something like that, like just to enjoy life. And sometimes my son gets up early, like, he was up at 6 this morning. So I had like not much time to really do anything for myself. And it was like, making him his like morning oats and banana and all that sort of jazz. So, I'll just have to catch that, personal stuff up a little bit later in the day. But hey, it comes with having a kid, right?
Yeah, and I appreciate your humility there. Again, being on the same journey just a couple years earlier, like I've started to notice that, we split up kind of who's on morning duty. So I have those couple of days, but inevitably, if I want to tackle my to-dos, at least right now, my temporary short-term solution has been get up earlier. So I am up around 4:15 now. It is not sustainable, but I have a few projects in the pipeline and they just need to get done before baby cries, dog begs for food, and all of the above. So I hear you on that. I love how you just came out and said, I have the best laid plan, but I am human. Things happen unexpectedly. And I hear like elements of grace and flexibility in what you shared, because if you just continue to berate yourself for not being perfect, there's inevitably a blow up or you stop the actions altogether.
Yeah, 100%. I think I think a lot of people, like I'm a very black and white person in a lot of stuff that I do, but I find if we're too black and white and like people can just throw the baby out with the bathwater, like if they miss 2 days in a row, it's like they're just on this like bad momentum spiral, just straight back down. And it's like, well, that sort of defeats the purpose. Like if we're thinking about Pareto's principle, like 20% of the actions that we do lead to 80% of the results, like, you know, that those 20% are like that morning thing. So if we start giving that up, like it's going to stop, you know, leading to 80% of the success or the motivation or fulfillment or whatever we get from, you know, doing the rest of the things.
Yeah, well said. Let's pivot. Golf fitness. I want to dive in. That's the umbrella for the next portion of our conversation. You and I both know there's so many elements under it, but I'll lay some context here, and I'll speak selfishly. I don't know if we had the chance to talk about this on Orlando, but I have a background in competitive bodybuilding and powerlifting. And I still to this day remember when I got back into golf, we're coming up on almost a year ago, the ego is there. Oh, I'm strong. I don't need golf specific workouts. I'm going to keep my bodybuilding routine. I want my arms and my chest to be bigger and look good. Well, Shaun, as you can imagine, I was quickly humbled. I lacked every element of range of motion. I was incredibly sore after I played my first official round of 18. And with that in mind, I know there are many listeners out there who think that going to the gym is good enough. And truthfully, it's not. You know, the fact that you're going regularly is great, but if golf is seriously a priority you're committed to improving, I know firsthand, you know better than I do, there needs to be a specificity to training that is specific to golf. With that said, help our listeners begin to understand in your words, what is golf fitness? Why does it matter? And perhaps what are some of the common misconceptions around golf specific training?
Yeah, that's a big question. There's a few elements to that one. So essentially golf fitness. So we know as a sport, we know what we are rewarded for in the game. So we can train to have better physical qualities to complete that game, right? Just like basketball. If you can't jump, you know, more than 20 inches, you've probably got no chance of being in the NBA. Yeah, you've probably got too much weight and you're probably not going to be playing in the NBA. The other thing, for football, if you don't have muscle mass to enable you to, you know, get impacted and take a hit and not have your skeleton broken, you're probably not going to be a good footballer. Like it's a thing, right? For golf, what we know is that we need to be able to complete a swing or swing to a certain way in which is unique to us and to our, you know, skill set or body's ability to move. Like John Rahm is different to Jim Furyk, is different to Tiger Woods or Adam Scott. So everyone has their own unique way of swinging the club, but it's your body's ability to get the golf club head into the best impact position and your body into the best impact position and move forward from there. So we know what the things we're rewarded for are, so we can train skill sets specifically to work on that. So what does that look like? Firstly, we want to have the range of motion to complete the golf swing without injuring our bodies. So that's first and foremost for anyone. So we need to have mobility and flexibility. Mobility is how mobile a joint is. So if you're watching it, it's my wrist and being able to move my wrist around the joint. Yep. So mobility is that. Flexibility is in your hamstring. Say if you stand straight-legged and you fold forward, try and touch your toes, that's hamstring flexibility. So flexibility is along joints and mobility is around joints. Yeah, just for clear explanation there, because everyone tells me they need to work on their flexibility, but it's their hips not rotating, which is mobility that they need to work on. Yeah, so just a key difference there. If we have the mobility in our body to complete a golf swing without hurting ourselves, we then need to be able to do that consistently for 18 holes and have the stamina to do that. So what factors do we train for that? We train strength endurance, we train power and speed, and we train muscle mass or build muscle mass, because that's just going to give us potential to do it without being as sore to complete the 18 holes. Then it's like, cool, we want to start looking for performance and other aspects, like let's really dial into speed and power and contrast training and overspeed and overload and all that type of stuff, so we can sort of go up the performance spectrum. So that's golf fitness as a whole. What do I see as some misconceptions? There's a couple. First is what you just said, which is I'm training in the gym, that's good enough. I mean, it is good enough. Like if you don't have any, aspirations to be like a really good golfer or to improve your scores or whatever it might be, and you just use golf as an outlet to socialize, drink beers and hit balls and laugh, That's perfectly fine. You probably shouldn't be drinking beers if you're training and trying to be healthy, but that's beside the point. But if your goals, to improve your handicap, to improve your play, to be able to play without pain, all these things, then it's silly not to do the things that we know you should be doing. Like it's stupid, really. Like we know what we're rewarded for. So now that you know that, if you're listening and you didn't think about it that way, and you know that, now you know it's like time for you to do something about it. So what's another misconception is that how do I phrase this one? Is like everyone thinks that just being mobile is enough to be a better golfer. Being mobile is good, but if you're not strong through that range of motion and you can just move there but you're not strong, that's where injuries will happen. Strength is our resilience against being injured from the sport that we're playing. So if we can do something and it becomes relatively easier output to do that thing. So golf, for me, carrying a bag for 18 holes, playing in 36 degrees Celsius, which is like, I don't know, close to 100 Fahrenheit with 100% humidity in the Cayman Islands, carrying my golf bag, walking the 15,000 steps or whatever, I can do that and not be sore the next day. So I know that, my output for golf is very minimal for me. So I can perform better within it because I'm able to concentrate better. I'm not fatigued. I'm not as tired. I'm not, dehydrated, all that type of stuff. For someone who doesn't have the fitness there, that would be an absolute battle for them to finish that round. They'd be laying on the ground afterwards. They wouldn't be able to play the next day. And this is why so many of the guys that I've worked with over the years and ladies, when they start with me, there's just no chance in hell that they'll be able to do like a 3-day Pinehurst trip where they're playing like 36, 36, 36. There's no way in hell they would last that. But after some training, building some muscle, building some strength, like they can actually withstand that, like their body can handle that load and volume. So that would be the other misconception, is like mobility is the only thing that's needed and we don't need strength and to build muscle mass. Hopefully that's answered all of your questions there, because it was like sort of like 3 questions in one, really. So I think honestly, I've touched on all of it.
My first response was, holy shit, you tackled that like a champ. Your ability to break that down, first laying the foundation, defining golf fitness. Dude, that was awesome. And for those of you listening, several key nuggets there. Go listen back. I mean, it's so valuable what he shared. And I think what often gets lost, and Shaun did a great job highlighting this, is like there's a definite alignment needed between the type of workout you're doing and how committed you are to your golf-specific goal. And to be frank, like Shaun addressed, if you have one that is any bit above just being out there having fun with your bros or your girlfriends there, drinking a couple beers, having a good time. I almost wonder too, though, for those of you who golf once a month recreationally, could it not be equally important to prioritize the mobility, the flexibility, and the strength training, simply because if you're not doing much in the gym, you're much more prone to injury, correct?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we know that like one of the leading causes of injuries and loss of independence as we age is loss of muscle mass or muscle atrophy, so losing muscle. And what we know now through lots of studies, there's lots of really good guys online that you can follow. Chris Beardsley is actually a really good one. He puts out a lot of meta-analyses and studies and whatnot. And they're showing now that even after like 7, 10, 14 days of not doing any weight work, we're already starting to atrophy. So we're already losing the gains that we made. And he even showed, I think there was, don't quote me on the exact numbers, like go back and look at his posts if you're listening, but it was like 30% of muscle mass that you gained in a, say, 12-week period. After 4 to 6 weeks, you've already lost that. So like it's significant amounts that you lose. So for anyone listening, like it's always easier to maintain what you have. So if you've spent years in the gym as a kid through college and into your early 20s and 30s and early 30s, and then all you want to do is maintain that, it's so much easier to go in the gym and do like 3 sessions a week of 30 minutes and do a heavy squat, a heavy bench, a heavy deadlift, 5 sets of 5 for each. And like you could just literally do that and you'll maintain what you have for so much longer into your life, and it will take less than 30 minutes each time you go to the gym. But it's where we just do nothing about it and don't do any training that we just lose it all. So yeah, that's a big message I try and get, is like just a maintenance volume is all that's needed. Very, very minimal, just to keep what you've worked so hard to build.
Yeah. And for those of you who listen to this show purely looking for that mental edge, I hope you don't lose sight of the fact that there are so many mental edges to be gained in prioritizing your fitness. I mean, first and foremost, I was kind of raised and taught under this belief that fitness is the gateway to personal development, because literally to grow muscle, you have to push yourself physically outside of your comfort zone. If you did 30 pounds, 10 repetitions every day for a year, guess what? You're not getting stronger and bigger outside maybe those first couple of sessions or first couple of weeks. So you need that constant little micro exposure to being out of your comfort zone. But Shaun, I loved your example too. You can go golf 18 holes walking in 100 degrees and 100% humidity. Fitness allows you to have, or being in good shape rather, allows you to have the available mental and emotional energy to keep the focus and the presence you need, which is invaluable to play to your potential on the course. So if you're not taking your fitness seriously, you are not going to have the available energy necessary to remain focused for every single one of your 70, 80, or maybe 90 and above shots per round. And that's critical.
Yeah, 100%. And like, it's funny, like something vividly comes back to my mind when you say that. So I live in the Cayman Islands currently. Before we lived here last year, pretty much all of last year, we lived in Bermuda. And it was pretty much the conditions that I just said. Like, it was, really high humidity, like maybe 90% humidity, 36 degrees C, or maybe 34, 36 degrees C. And I was walking the course. And anyone who has walked Port Royal Golf Course knows that it's like super hilly. It's like up and down, up and down. And I did it. I've got to play golf and pick my son up at 4 p.m. from his daycare. So I literally started at like 20 past 1. I played 18 holes up and down, carrying my own bag, caught up to a group on the 18th hole who started like 7 holes in front of me. And so I caught up to them, and there was an old American guy in there who was having a cigar and drinking, like, I think he'd had like 10 or 12 beers by that point. But he, I can't remember his exact words, but he's like, "You're a fucking crazy man." He's like, "It's so hot out." And he's like, in his big, like, southern sort of accent, I'm just butchering it. But he was like so shocked that I could just like walk around. And I literally just walked straight back up the 18th hole, which is the steepest hill on the course, like past their group in carts. Jumped back in the car, went and got my son, went and played and did all the stuff with him. But that's what it should be for people. Like, I want people to experience that, because unless you've experienced that, it's really hard to, like, firstly fathom that you can do that and it's okay and it's achievable. It's not really that hard to do. But secondly, like, you get so much more enjoyment. I don't think I had the best score. I think I, shot maybe like 5-6 over or something like that. So I wasn't like trying to break any personal bests or anything like that. But like, it was a good round, like, 3-ish hour round, really fast, shoot a few over, didn't lose any balls, no doubles, 1 3-putt, like, just concentration, maintenance, during that round. So, yeah.
I love that. I was going to comment, like, despite being in really great physical shape, you also happen to be a hell of a golfer, which contributes to that speedy round as well.
One thing I wasn't taking too many shots.
Yeah, right. So one thing you brought up, I was actually going to bring up too, so I'm so happy you already shared it, but I labeled in my notes of preparation, like, the abilities, getting clear on mobility versus flexibility. You elaborated on that very clearly. The third one I had noted that I'd love for you to speak to, defining and also helping me selfishly, as well as our listeners, understand the benefit of, is stability. Why do we need to focus on stability training? What is it? How is it helpful if we're trying to become the best golfing version of ourselves?
Yeah. So to me, like, stability is strength. So if you are able to support an external load on your body, be it a back squat, a front squat, an overhead squat, something like this, where, there's a barbell there with some sort of a weight, or, it's away from the center of your mass because you're holding it over your head, and you're able to squat with good form and good range of motion, so good mobility. That to me shows a lot of stability, because an external load acting on your body shows that you are able to stabilize and control the way in which you're moving. Now, the way in which we build that, there's many facets to doing that. Firstly, it's identifying, like, where the stability issue is. Like, for some people, it's their shoulders. For some people, it's their hips and around their knees. I find, like, mostly for golfers, we're looking at lower body. Like, we're looking at your ability to solidify your stance in the ground and be really stable. And it's going to move people away from things which you commonly hear of, like swaying and sliding in their swing. So starting the backswing with some lateral momentum and then, sliding through the ball. So in order to build that, one of the things that I like to implement really early on in someone's training is to do unilateral work. So to isolate each side of the body. So we're just training each side independently and evenly. A lot of times this is, some people sort of get a bit like caught up and they're like, oh, my left can't do as much as my right and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, yeah, exactly. That's why we're doing this. If your right leg is stronger, and generally, so this is a thing which a lot of people are really surprised by when we do the screening. And one of the things that I do with a mobility and fitness assessment with somebody is we look at stability through the legs, and we do a single leg balance test. So having them stand on one leg and just looking at which leg is better. So just quickly for you, which do you think for a right-handed golfer, which leg do you think you can balance on better? Which would you be able to?
I think, and this is just because of my years of athletics growing up, I think my left leg would be stronger.
Yeah. So your left leg is, maybe not stronger in the sense of it'd
more stable.
It'd be able to, not stronger in the sense that it'd be able to kick a ball further or be more coordinated to kick and have strength in it, like a kicking action or something like this. It's the left side is definitely more stable. Yeah, because it is the pivot point that you go around. So for a lot of your listeners are probably from the US, so you've probably thrown a football, you've thrown a baseball, and you've hit a golf ball if you're listening to this. And that's all done by having that left leg planted and then your hips rotating around that. So it's the anchor and the stable point. Yeah. So a lot of golfers will find that it's more stable because it's the one that everyone is anchored to and pivots around, but it's weaker. Yeah, so they can stabilize but they can't lift as much weight with it. So we want to even that out with the body, because golf being very one-sided and repetitive motion, if we just continue to do that, it'll just create more and more imbalances. And it's where you get people, walking around like this, like one shoulder up, one shoulder down, or like, twisted spines and all sorts of stuff. So what we want to do is just try to, as much as we can, get each side of the body working to its best ability and as strong as it can, so that when we do all that one-sided work, it doesn't, detract too much from a good, healthy, functioning body. So stability is strength, and isolating side to side, doing a lot of, lunges or split squats, or there's other, alpine squats. There's many different variants that I can get people to do. But essentially it's trying to build strength, mobility, and stability by isolating side to side.
Well said. I'm glad I asked that question, because my mind kind of coming into that question was like, I have a background in exercise science, a minimal amount compared to you, of course, but single leg, straight-legged deadlifts has been something just to work on that, evening out both sides, the ability to hold that I'm going to butcher some of these words, but to exhibit strength on one leg as I go through that range of motion versus two. I have found that being able, it's so funny you mentioned the example of sway, getting back into golf, I had that problem massively. I would just sway my whole body and then try to come back, but being able to fully rotate around as I go about my backswing and then through the remainder of my swing, I feel, again, these are my words, they might not be fully accurate, just more stable in my base as I'm now able to rotate throughout my body, coming from what used to be a very armsy swing. And I attribute that to a lot of unilateral work. Yeah,
100%. And like with sway and slide, one thing and one of the things that I really hammer home is that single leg strength. It's also hip mobility. So our hips need to be able to internally and externally rotate 60 degrees in order to complete more range of motion than what our swing requires. So if we have that, then if we look up the body a little bit, this is like to dive a bit deeper into like a TPI screening, but 60 degrees of rotation for the hips, 45 degrees for the thoracic. So sitting there, and then 45 degrees is only this far. Everyone thinks it's 90 getting all the way around, but it's only 45 that we need. And then our shoulders, for anyone watching, our forearm, we want that when we're standing to, if we reach it back, to exceed the range that our shoulder can, exceed our spine angle, I should say. Yeah, which for a lot of Americans, again, throwing footballs, throwing baseballs, if you're a right-handed golfer and you've thrown right-handed, you probably won't have too many issues with that shoulder because the ligaments will be pretty laxed from throwing. But if we've got all of those things, then we should be able to eliminate a lot of these swing faults. So that's where training comes into it. So a lot of people can't really piece together how the movement of their body will actually translate into them moving better in the golf swing. But the amount of times where, and I've just had a client recently, Nick, who he has been working with a golf coach, a Canadian guy named Larry, who I interviewed, a great guy. But he's been working with him for a while, and there's been a few swing changes that they haven't quite been able to implement to the way that they want to. Nick's been working with me for around 6 months. The body's moving better, club's getting into positions, like all these swing changes are starting to become easier because of the work he's doing in combination with me and Larry. And now Nick's talking about working with Mike Leonard, getting the full trifecta, like physical, mental, and swing coaching all dialed in to obviously play to his potential. So, we've got to have the body moving right in those ways, and that will eliminate those swing faults, which, talking about swaying and stability and everything else, it's not always just, strength is going to be the answer for it. It's like rotation, strength, stability, like there's a whole group of things that need to come together for it.
It's a cool dot connecting moment for you. You led with mentioning a variety of different golfers, the uniqueness in their swing, and a great golf coach is going to help you build a swing based on your body type, composition, range of motion. Yet that swing becomes not only so much easier to build, but a hell of a lot more effective if you allow yourself to be able to expand your range of motion, have the fluidity and the opportunity to move your body fluidly throughout that entire range of motion. So just another reason golf fitness, the specificity, mobility is so important to become the best version of you on the golf course. Now, I want to continue down this nuanced path. I want to talk about speed training. I want to talk about power. Differentiate speed training versus training for power for us.
Yeah. So, I always like to just go back to the physics quote, the physics formula. Speed equals distance over time. Right. So there's a few different ways in which we can manipulate speed. The way in which that I like to go about it is at first is increasing distance. So distance of swing just means a longer swing, right? So if the club's going from this point around to here and then back to there, that's the distance that it goes. If we can get it to go a little bit further and the time to remain the same, then it means that we're going to have more speed, which, is greater power output to the golf ball. So we try and manipulate that first. So get someone a little more range of motion, get them closer to the 60 degrees of rotation in the hips, 45 in the thoracic and 90 plus in the shoulders. And then we're probably going to see some transference to speed. The next way that I like to go about it is to increase somebody's power potential. And the way that we increase somebody's power potential is to increase their muscle mass. I don't say increase their power, I say increase their power potential. Yeah, because if we had Mike Tyson fighting against Manny Pacquiao, I think you can imagine who's going to win that fight. If one of them gets one punch, it's all over, I'll leave it to the viewer's imagination of that happening. But essentially, it's why we have weight classes in sport, because one has the potential for greater power output than the other. So especially in combat sports, it's a big thing. So if we've got someone who has a little more mobility, so they're moving further in their swing. If we've got someone who's got more muscle mass, so they're more lean muscle mass, then we start moving into strength work for them. So start getting them to recruit those motor units, the muscles, motor units, recruit them in a way which it's like a high contractile force trying to push that weight up, like a heavy weight up. It's called overload training, or strength work is overload training. That is actually getting them to coordinate that power output or output power. So there's the power part of it. And then we can go into how that applies to the swing and building their kinematic sequence. I generally find that someone's kinematic sequence improves if they start doing strength training, because your body needs to coordinate lifting a weight, so it then can start to coordinate like how the club sequences through it. And as you start swinging faster, if you've got your arms bent and there's all sorts of like weird and wacky things happening, you're going to start to feel like where the power is leaking out of your swing, because you're starting to swing faster and like the ball's still going the same distance. So you then know that, cool, it's not a body issue. Like I don't have the potential to put that power out. It's a matter of like, cool, I just need a couple of coaching cues to like help me with how to output that power into the golf club. So hopefully that didn't like specifically, answer the question, but it's like sort of systematically gone through like approaching speed training and my thoughts into it.
No, it's awesome. What are some specific Let's go. I'll go this route. You can always give an answer that's beyond the question itself, but like, what would specific power training look like in the gym? Because I have my own variation in my mind that I don't even know if it's 100% correct. So I want to hear from you. If I'm trying to train power in the gym and I already have a solid base of strength training background, what might the exercise selection look like for power specific training?
Yeah. So we can do power training. I put speed and power into the same thing. So essentially, we're trying to move faster. We're trying to output, or trying to build more speed, which outputs more power. Like they both lead to the same thing. So with that, the main two that people will do is either overspeed or overload training. So overspeed training is like plyometric stuff. Or things where you can move really quickly with low fatigue, close to 100% of your speed, or trying to push that 100% threshold up. And you want to stop doing that as soon as you feel yourself start to drop below like a 90% output. So if someone's there doing 20 medicine ball slams against the wall, and the first one sounds like fucking thunder hitting the wall, and then the last one sounds like, I don't know, Mickey Mouse has flicked it. Like, it's... I was just in Disney last week.
Tell us you weren't in Disney.
So like we can see there's a clear differential in the amount of like force that someone's putting out. So they're diminishing. So what we need to do is stop doing that sooner. Like do only 3 to 5 reps. So it needs to be much lower volume, but higher intensity or output as you're doing it. So that's for the plyometric or the overspeed stuff. With overload, so that also builds type 2 fibers or type 2X or whatever the muscle scientists are calling it these days. But essentially, that is recruiting the most motor units or most muscle motor units in order to lift that weight. So it's building better coordination and force output. It's very weight dependent. So you can't really build strength by, for me, for example, like my max squat at the moment would probably be in the realms of like 300-ish pounds. Like I wouldn't know, I haven't done a heavy squat for a while, but I could do, say that. If I then wanted to strength train, I'd have to train 80, 85% of that in order to like be getting stronger or being like adding speed or power to my potential. If I'm training at 100 pounds and I'm, trying to lift that, I'm not going to get as great an output from that or as much from an overload training perspective. I could do that weight, like that 100 pounds is very light in respect for the difference there. I could do like plyometric type stuff. Like I could do like jumping squats or other things, but that's going to the overspeed training again. Yeah. So that's where it differentiates. I find when people or where people get this wrong is they'll either do too many reps of an overspeed movement. So they start to move slowly and then it's just like not really increasing their upper threshold, or they'll do too light a weight and think that they're building strength, but they're not actually close enough to their maximum. Yeah, so that's like the two ends of the spectrum that people have issues with, or like most common problems I find.
I love that. And I'm curious, either personally or professionally, coaching so many people over the years, what mental benefits, what mental edge, if you will, have you found either yourself or your clients derive specifically from the implementation of speed and power training into their regimen?
Yeah, so I feel it's like everyone thinks like it's a bit of a big dick move or a flex to be able to hit it further, and like it's really cool to be able to do that. But the other abilities that it gives you, like to hit through rough, to hit out of the sand much easier, to play on uneven lies and still put a really good solid contact onto the ball, good strike. So there's all these other carryover benefits to it. But the main thing also is if you could, Paul, coming to me, you can swing 100 miles an hour right now when you're trying to swing out of your shoes, and that's like the maximum potential that you could do. You're going to go out on the course and you're probably going to swing somewhere between 90 and 95. Like that's going to be your swing. Yeah, if we can increase that threshold for you from 100 to 110 is when you're swinging out of your shoes. Now you're going to go on the golf course and you're going to swing at 100 to 105 and you're not swinging out of your shoes. So that 10-mile increase that you've just gained on your maximum, you've also just added to your bottom line, because You don't have to swing it 100% every time. You've got the ability to do it, but you don't have to. Like, you're still swinging faster, even though you're not actively trying to do that. You know what I mean? Like, everything is brought up from that. And who doesn't want to be able to, like, get to a course like, St. Andrews or something like this, where it's linksy, it's downwind, the ball's not going to spin as much. It's like 2 football fields wide is the fairway. Who doesn't want to just fucking smoke one down the fairway as hard as they can? And, I've hit 400-yard drives in Australia at a course called Barnbougle Dunes, because it was like, 40-mile-an-hour wind behind me, and the fairway was concrete. So there's actually 400-meter par 4. So I drove it about 380 meters, which is like just over 400 yards. But
Jesus.
Like, I wouldn't do that, any other time, but I have the potential to do that, and it doesn't hurt me to do that. So it also gives me the potential to, swing it easier on holes that are into the wind and still be able to hit it, like 240, 250 yards into a stiff breeze like that, So there's just too many benefits for it, and having it in your head that you've got the potential, but you don't need to use it, like it's like keeping the gun in the holster type thing, is a very good mental benefit for so many people.
And that's where I was going to go. I loved some of the things you shared weren't even on my radar. So I'm so grateful I asked that question. For me, when I started incorporating it, it was like an attitude I had to cultivate, especially having the little speedometer to really clock my swings. Like, not only did it really force me to be incredibly present in the moment, all of my focus, attention, and energy, but I had to kind of, cultivate that big dick energy, if you will, like really put my big boy shoes on. Like, okay, like we're really going to have this attitude of aggression here. And just like you alluded to, it's like having a gun in the holster. Like, I can pull that out, but I walk a little differently after I see myself clocking 118. I'm like, okay, like I can stand up a little taller now. I feel good about myself. But it forces that presence, that intentional use of energy, that attitude, which goes hand in hand with the identity and how you carry yourself on the golf course, how prepared, how confident you feel. So that's one of my personal benefits. And I'm glad that you alluded to that as well in the long list of benefits you shared.
Yeah. And, I get it a fair bit. Like, I'll play with guys, especially around here in the Cayman Islands, all a little bit older than me, like mid to late 40s or even early 50s. And I'll just pull an iron out off the tee. It's like the third hole it's about 380 yards to maybe 400 yards long. And I always hit like a 4 or a 5 iron, even off the back tees, because at about 300, 310, it starts to really come in, and that's where the water's in play. So I only need to hit it like 20, 30 yards short of that. It's always downwind as well. The prevailing wind is like, you can rely on it like clockwork. Like, it's going to be midday now, it's going to be downwind there at that hole. Like, it's just always like that. But I'll just hit a 4 iron down there, and they're all pumping drivers as hard as they can. And I'm like looking back at their shot like 10 yards behind me after hitting a 4 iron down there. Who doesn't love that feeling?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm like, hey boys, like, what iron did you hit off the tee? I always just say a 2 or a 3 iron, just so they don't feel so bad. I feel a bit bad for lying to them, but at least it makes them feel a bit better.
Fantastic. And let me get your insight on this. For the golfer, and I'm speaking for myself too, to be frank, who has dealt with chronic low back pain, what do they need to hear about not only prioritizing golf specific fitness, but how do you recommend they approach prioritizing mobility, flexibility, aspects of specificity in their training routine?
Yeah, 100%. So one of the TPI philosophies is assess, don't guess. So I find a lot of people will often treat the symptoms or the site of the pain, and the site of the pain is often not the problem. The low back is, especially for golfers, it cops a bad rap, because if you think about our body, I've just mentioned the hips, the thoracic, and the shoulders, so working up the body. If our hips are rotating 60 degrees internally and externally, amazing. That's good. They're functioning well. If our shoulder or our thoracic is rotating at 45 degrees, then awesome. We've got 60 degrees there, 45 degrees there. So we've got 105 degrees of rotation through 2 parts of the body. That exceeds what we need in the swing. If then our shoulders are doing the same thing, it means that there's nothing going wrong there. Like, we're in a pretty good spot. Where that starts to break down and we start to see problems is our hips only turn 20 degrees, 30 degrees, say. Then our thoracic, sure, it can turn 45, 50 degrees, but it can't make up for all of the lack of what the hips are not doing. So who gets called into play when one thing doesn't turn, the next thing doesn't turn? The only thing in the middle is that guy called the lower back who cops a bad rap for everything. It is, and you think about the way these things are designed. So our knees are designed for flexion extension. Our back, lower back, is designed for flexion extension. Our hips are designed for rotation, and our thoracic is designed for rotation. Yeah, so parts of the body as we go up it, are meant for different things. They're meant to perform different functions. The lower back being in the middle of two units, which are meant for rotation, means that it sometimes gets asked to rotate when it's not designed for that. Yeah, which is like, if you think about it, like wringing out your spine like that, it's not going to feel nice, is it?
Yeah.
So that's where, side bending too much or asking to rotate when it's not designed for it, like all of these things contribute to the lower back copying a lot of the load in which it shouldn't, because some other part of the body isn't functioning to its potential or the way it needs to. So assess, don't guess. Assess what is actually going on with your body before you just start guessing what to do, because strengthening your lower back is not going to fix it. It's going to be adding mobility, range of motion, or something to another part of the body, which enables you to not have to put pressure onto the lower back in order to have that issue happening. So that's the main one. Okay. There's others that happen, like some people have sciatica, and some people have, another client had scoliosis. He didn't find out till he was like mid-40s that he had scoliosis. He's an airline pilot. He's just been in, plane seats for tens of thousands of hours of his life, so it hasn't been ideal for him. But there's other different things, but the most common theme that I see from golfers who have a sore lower back is from that. It's from some part of the body not functioning to the way it's intended to for the swing, and that needs to be addressed. As soon as we start to do hip mobility, thoracic mobility, those things start to clear up immediately. It's like, wow, I can turn through the ball now. I don't really extend anymore. My back feels better. Like I don't feel my back after a round. Like all of these things are super common to hear once we actually address the underlying issues for it, and not just, point at the lower back and blame it and try and strengthen it.
I owe my lower back an apology. You just blew my mind. I'm just so locked into that visual. Knees extend, hips rotate, lower back extends and flexes, and shoulders rotate, thoracic shoulders rotate. Like that, oh my God, to me. Like it makes so much sense. And like I just know for like in my own little short-term journey, my lack of rotational ability absolutely put added and unnecessary stress on my back. Like, yeah, you just turned on so many light bulbs for me, and I've connected the dots as to why I've been in pain. So that was awesome. Love that. So well said. The visual is incredibly helpful for me personally. So thank you for that. I want to know, because you are a wealth of knowledge. I already know we're going to do this again. Where can our listeners go to listen to you? You're on your awesome podcast, but more specifically, not only learn from you, but go get coaching with you. Where do you want them to go?
Yeah, so the best two platforms, obviously I've got the podcast, which is just called the Fairway Performance Podcast. So that's my business is called Fairway Performance, trying to help people play to their true potential and their bodies not being the thing that limits them, because it's your best asset on the golf course is your body and how it moves. Not some fancy club. Then I work with, these days I only work with people individually. So I have a smaller client base, but I work one-to-one with clients where we, go through a full assessment, figure out what it is that we need to work on, build out an individualized program for them. And then I provide coaching and accountability throughout that process, just like a personal trainer in their pocket, essentially, is what I tell them, with getting feedback and sending me videos throughout the process. But if you want to get in touch about that and you don't have social media, you can just email me, Shaun@fairwayperformance.com, SHAUN. And then if you do have social media and Instagram, it's just Shaun.Diachkoff, which I'm sure you'll put the links up to it. But just follow me on there. Just start a direct message conversation with me, or comment on one of my posts or something. And I'd love to have a chat with you and just see if the goals that the listeners have are something that I can support them with, and if I have the space client-wise to work with them, and then bring them on and help them out.
Love that. And I'll tell you, everybody listening, I have not worked with Shaun, but when I got to spend a couple days with him in Orlando, not only did we get to take the time to learn more about each other's processes, and this man truly cares about your goals. The level of accountability and communication, the way he puts your needs as a priority is second to none. And I even had the opportunity to share a little bit more about my golf swing challenges. And I swear to God, I don't know if you remember this, within 30 seconds, you're talking to me about, oh, you early extend because of X, Y, and Z. Do you struggle with A, B, and C? And I was like, well, you just basically wrote my whole story. Shaun knows his shit. And if you are truly trying to take your fitness to the next level, he needs to be your coach, your guide, your mentor to get there.
Awesome, man. Thank you. It's becomes quite easy. We didn't talk about it at the start, but my job when I was in the military was an aircraft maintenance engineer. So I've always loved the philosophy of fault finding and troubleshooting stuff, and I just see the body as another part to that. So yeah, that's why I break it down into those things, like this needs to do this needs to do this, etc. And that becomes much easier. We used something called the half split rule in aviation maintenance. Like we'd split a complex system in half. Is the problem here or is the problem here? Yeah, awesome. Yeah, then we'd go here. Then we'd split it in half again and just keep going half. And it just stops you from, just pulling, assessing and not guessing, just like pulling random bits and just trying to check it, all the different parts. So that's sort of led to my, wanting to help people in this respect, and why I can just like systemize and break it down like you were saying there. So it's quite funny awesome. Sometimes.
Yeah, really, really cool to have that extra insight too. Dude, thank you so much for joining us on the show. I really appreciate your time and your wisdom.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. And look forward to you jumping on my show soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you listening, thank you for tuning into another episode. I know you found immense value in today's episode. Not only do I need you to go listen to it twice, maybe 3 times, I need you to go share it with your golfing buddy. Push him or her to get better so they challenge you to get better. Take your golf fitness seriously. It will take your game to the next level. So share this episode, go listen, take action. And if you haven't done so already, take 30 seconds to leave a genuine rating, review on both Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever it is you're listening to today's episode. Thank you again for listening. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Hit them straight, and I'll catch you in the next episode.